Hey y'all, I'm Tim and welcome to the Mr. Maple Show. Hit that like button, we'd really appreciate it. And guys, remember to shop with us on MrMaple.com. We add 10 new plants every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we brought Cate back. Cate's been one of our favorite top fives. Y'all loved her top five before. So today we would just walk through a random house. We picked random house number 4 down low and we said, Cate, what's your top 5 plants down here in this greenhouse? So today we've got Cate's top 5 plants of house 4.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. Good to see you guys again. So we're going to start with my number 5 plant, which is actually a ginkgo tree. It is the Sunstream Ginkgo. It's really cool because it's got this beautiful variegation on it. And what's unique about this one is it actually doesn't show or develop the variegation until a few weeks after the leaf comes out of the tree. So you can see the new growth at the top here. It's just green, but this older growth down at the bottom is going to have some of that yellow striping and variegation.
Yeah, and this is one of the most consistently variegated upright ginkgos with this irregular striping pattern. You know, something like Snow Cloud and Beijing Gold, you know, those don't revert. All the ones that have this style do revert, but Sunstream is the least reversion prone of any of those ginkgo that have this similar style variegation. It's one of our favorites because of that. I've seen it sold under the name Sunscreen because people just messed up on the label. In fact, that's one of the first times we ran into this plant. It had Sunscreen on the name. I was like, what in the world? And then I realized it was Sunstream later. But awesome. It's just got like those tiger stripes in the plant.
Yeah.
And it grabs your attention because of the lime green on the dark green.
Yeah.
And ginkgos are amazing plants. I mean, they're around when the dinosaurs were around. They're native plants to the United States millions of years ago on fossil records. So pretty awesome tree. Still gives you that bright school bus yellow fall color everyone loves with the ginkgo trees.
Yeah, and I just love how the leaves kind of fan out. You know, it's really a unique shaped tree, unique shaped leaves. It's a beautiful one. Definitely add it to your collection. My number 4 is the Hoshi Ruby Stars. This tree is so cool to me because when it leaves out, it's got this really awesome sort of peachy red color, and then it's got really beautiful lime green variegation in the leaves itself. And it's a dwarf tree, right?
It is. The lime green veins complement so well against that red color, but it's a different color of red too.
Yeah.
Like during the summer months, it can get to almost like a brick red. But the thing my favorite thing about this plant is in the fall, this goes to yellows to oranges. And so you've got this red dwarf that's kind of conical in its shape that then goes to yellow. So it's starkly different from what it does in the spring.
Yeah.
So ruby and then the star in the fall exactly describes this plant with the star-shaped leaves and that golden yellow fall color.
Yeah, it really is a beautiful one, and I spend a lot of time with these plants, so you know she's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was an introduction about Dale Laux in Oregon, and Dale Laux was one of our friends. He introduced emerald lace and a bunch of other awesome plants. His cousin was Olson, and together they sort of introduced Ruby Stars together.
Oh, cool.
But one introduced it under the name Ruby Stars, and the other introduced it under the name Hoshi.
Okay.
And Hoshi translates as Ruby Stars. So still same plant, but an amazing, unique dwarf that it stands out still from everything that's out there.
Yeah. The next on my list is the red spider, and this one is so cool because when its leaves come out, they sort of grow downwards and they look like spider legs. It also, to me, reminds me of a threads, like the yellow threads. I really love the very, very faint green, variegation that you can see just down the spine of the leaf itself. But it's just such a cool looking tree. And every time I walk by one, it always strikes me because it's so different than most of the other trees that we have.
Yeah, red spider, it gives you almost that bamboo aesthetic out in the garden.
Yeah.
And it's great for traditional Japanese gardening because of that. Those lunar lobum strap leaves really give a unique texture. And you can get in and see the branches of the tree, which you don't see with many Japanese maples. Like a bloodgood, similar size, would have leaves so large that you couldn't see the structure up here at the top.
Right.
But because this is a red spider with that lunar lobum style, you can see the branching. That means it's a great tree for bonsai because you can work in there and see the structures and the branching. But it's also just a great tree to have out in the landscape and garden because that unique airy feel to this plant just gives it like this cloud-like fun appearance.
Yeah, and when the wind blows, I would imagine it would be pretty cool to see them, blowing in the breeze. So the next one on my list, number 2, is the Gee Whiz. So this is a Taxodium distichum. It's actually a bald cypress, and it's a dwarf bald cypress. So these are really great for low-lying areas or soggier areas in your yard. They do love a lot of sunlight, so if you've got a wet area that needs, you know, a tree that can thrive, these do really great in that. I am from North Florida, which is like bald cypress land. And so I'm really familiar with these trees, and this one's actually a dwarf, so it doesn't get too big. And it's, you know, the way that its leaves come out, I just love how small they seem. And when it grows, it's like, what, 4 or 5 feet or so in about 10 years. It's a really unique tree. And if you have, you know, need a tree for a low-lying spot, this is definitely your guy. They also love sunlight too, so.
The fact that bald cypresses can handle a lot of water, make them a great plant to put out in the landscape, especially your spots where your Japanese maples can't.
Oh yeah.
Because their root systems are so, you know, they can handle heavy amounts of water. They can even sit in a pond.
Oh yeah.
And they're just awesome plants. They're a really unique deciduous conifer. You see the name G in Gee Whiz, that's because it was introduced by our good friend Gary G. And it's a great name, Gee Whiz, for a dwarf witch's broom that he found and introduced on a bald cypress. But this is a deciduous conifer. That means all the needles are going to drop off during the winter months, but they emerge in the spring. And this is just a compact dwarf bald cypress that is amazing. It's going to get the same needs and everything that some of those larger bald cypresses do, but this is a more dwarf compact form. I know our good friend Tom Cox had this, and this was the very first time I saw it was down at Cox Gardens down in towards Atlanta in Georgia. And I was like, man, that is an amazing plant. We've got to get that in production. So we started grafting it. Then we made good friends with Gary, went and visited him, and he's in Michigan.
Oh, wow.
And so you've got a plant that can grow down in Florida, that can grow up in Michigan. I mean, it can go in so many ranges in the United States. So it's easy to grow for a lot of people. It doesn't have to sit in water. It doesn't have to. It's very drought resistant. So it can go out in drier spots in the garden as well. I mean, bald cypresses, they're so easy to grow. And you've got a plant here that can go in those wetter spots in the garden where the Japanese maple can't, but can also go out in your Japanese maple garden and just make a beautiful dwarf tree.
Yeah, it's a really cool kind of a contrast from everything else in the yard too. And my top plant in house 4
dun, dun, dun.
is the Firefly. This tree is so beautiful, you guys. It's got awesome variegation. I love the watermelon green, or watermelon peachy color in the leaves. When it leaves out, it's got these lime greens with red tips. I mean, it is just really unique. I know it's got different colors in the spring and the fall, and it's just one of those that, you gotta have in your yard if you don't already.
Yeah, Firefly is one that we named here at Mr. Maple.
Oh, cool.
And it's one that has been extremely popular. And it's because it changes constantly throughout the season. I mean, in the springtime, you get a white interior reticulation with a purple border, a purple-red border. And it is outstanding with hints of pink in there.
Right.
Then as you see, that watermelon type color you're talking about comes into there with green veining.
Yeah.
The new growth during the summer is almost reminiscent of something like a Sumagaki or Sumabini, where you have that purple tipping, heavy purple tipping.
Yeah.
And it keeps changing all throughout the season.
Yeah.
The summer flushes during the summer are like a bright pink with green veining.
Right.
And so, I mean, it keeps changing each and every season you look at it. And because of that, it's many people's favorites. If you go to our Mr. Maple Friends group on Facebook, if you're not in it, go get involved in it and share some of your photos of Japanese maples. And people are constantly showing photos of their Firefly in different times of the season because they're impressed in the spring, and then it changes, they have to take another photo. Then it changes, you gotta take another photo because this plant is simply amazing.
It really is, and it's part of the Go series, isn't it?
It has that ghost-like reticulation.
Kind of a similar.
It does, it has that ghost-like reticulation. And it's one of mine and Matt's favorite variegated Japanese maples. Yeah. It's one of my favorite, and also Matt's favorite reticulated Japanese maple overall. Yeah. And it just has a really nice upright habit too, where some of the other reticulated types sort of have this arching out habit.
Okay, so it's
this one has more of an upright habit to it, which makes it more of a tree form rather than more of that more shrub-like.
Yeah.
But an awesome plant that I think more people need to be growing, and we're starting to make more and more popular here at Mr. Maple. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed Kate's top 5 plants here in House 4. She's got a pretty good lineup here. It'd be hard for me to do much better on this top 5. I mean, these plants really rock it out. All very different. A ginkgo, a dwarf Japanese maple, a linerlobum selection, a dwarf conifer, and Firefly.
Yeah. Keep it different, right?
Well, guys, make sure you smash that like button. We really appreciate you. Make sure you shop with us on MrMaple.com. And guys, As always, make sure you're subscribed to our weekly emails, but also subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on your favorite podcast platform. Guys, we put out daily content on YouTube, weekly content on your podcast platform. And guys, you know, we work hard for it. So really, we'd really appreciate it if you shopped with us too. Guys, take care.
God bless.
And have a great day.